first of all, dzień dobry. So, yeah. I only know 3 Polish words, and I try to incorporate it in my talk. So it's dzień dobry, dziękuję, and na zdrowie. But I don't know how to incorporate na zdrowie. At the end of the talk, don't forget to like me. I narrowed the thing. I just put a paper on not like, so vote for me, please. Well, can you put the slide up? Wow, that looks good. It's material design colors, by the way. So if you ever think of why I do the bright colors, it's material design. So as I'm mentioning, well, first let me pronounce my name. My name is Wiebe, and it's really a difficult name. So just call me that guy or asshole. That would be fine. I'm used to it. Well, I'm going to give you some pointers on how to make an awesome application. And the basis is, if you do have an application, you can learn stuff. If you want to write an application, these are some good tips. But let me try it. I want to know who's in front of me. So during my talk, I will ask a lot of questions to you. So you're probably going to stay awake. So I want to see some hands who actually have an application in the store, in one of the stores. Cool. Any 5-star rating apps? No? 1-star rating? Yeah? Who dislikes the rating? Okay. Oh, is that me or? Okay. Any designers? Any developers? Oh, more developers than designers. Designers, respect. So my name is, again, Wiebe Elsinga. You can find me on Twitter, on Google+. It's not really interesting what I do on Google+, except share a lot of interesting stories. I'm a public speaker. I do a lot of technical conferences. And I work for a company, small company, only 14 people. And we make iOS and Android applications. And my official title is technical lead. But forget everything. Just call me Wiebe and it's fine. So who made that? Who's making the noise?
We're trying to find out.
Okay, I'm not being electrocuted, am I? So, to be honest, I'm not giving away. I'm not telling you just one story and then you have the golden ticket to make your app really a success. I'm just giving away some pointers that might help you achieve the level of awesomeness you always wanted. Let me tell you a story. During the release of your app, within 3 months, 75% of your customers will leave you. That's a fact. 1/3 of the apps will die within the first 2 months because the lack of interest of people is really low. So you have to think of your app and how to make it awesome, because good isn't good enough anymore. It has to be really awesome. We as a user are used to apps. You found it? Yeah. No. Is it my mic? Oh yeah. Yep. Shall I just continue or do a dance? Okay. So to point out some figures. Did you know there's 1 billion users already using or activating a device? 1 billion. That's even more activations than there are faucets in the world. So we care about mobile phones, but we don't care about waters. So the balance is off, but you can get an idea how big mobile phones is. I like visualization, so I put it in a graph. So in 2008 there were 0, and in 2014 there were 1 billion. Oh, you're so easy. Yeah. So first of all, to make your app awesome, what do you need to do? First, you have to analyze your app, analyze. Basically, you have to sit down with a user or ask people around you to give your app a try. So you know how the app is used. We as developers think that we know everything. We know how an app is used. We know what an action bar does. Most of the people don't know yet. They know a little bit better than 2 years ago, but for us, the natural flow of an application is more known than the actual user. So try to do some user analysis on how your app is being used. And if you don't have much money, maybe you just need to look around. So I was in, where was this? Istanbul. And I had a conference, and after the conference I went to the Hagia Sophia. It's a big church, and I was looking around, I was enjoying the scenery, and all of a sudden a group of, I think they were Japanese, just came, took pictures, and then left. The reason why for me this is so awesome, it's not because they just took a picture and they left, they don't actually enjoy the scenery, but they are really active with their mobile phones. And can somebody explain to me what this is? And if you do answer, you're really a nerd, but I told it's a selfie stick. Please don't buy that. But again, it shows you a good way of people using their mobile phones. They're using their camera really often to take as much in, because apparently they don't have the time to actually enjoy the scenery. But it gives you a good idea on how apps are being used. Maybe have a look at the awesome review process Google and iOS has. And I'm not saying that most of the reviews are good. I don't know if the guy saying, oh, you need to hire me to fix your problems is the most valid review out there. But sometimes there are some good reviews out there saying, well, I'm missing a feature, it doesn't work. It gives you a good idea how users are using your application. So again, this is just to analyze the behavior of a user that is using your app. Then rethink your application. Is your application doing what it's supposed to do? Is it a natural way of interacting with that user? And a good example is, can anybody explain me the definition of those two buttons? It's in a hotel, so I'll give you that. So what does the bottom button do? Turn on the light. Turn on the light. Only one person? Come on. I had some coffee, so I'm awake. You just shout at me. Is it turn on the light, turn off something, close the curtains? I really don't know. Rethink if the buttons are good enough to tell me, a dumb user, to know what it does. Most of the buttons, by the way, I really like to press, so I was pressing along and they close the curtain. But is the top one on? Is the top button off? Why is it red? These are some common thoughts in a user experience, because this is a user experience, that shows you how people see your app, maybe your website, and in this case, buttons. So rethink if the interface that is shown is clear enough. Think like humans. So this is an application that does scanning, and the customer designed it like, I take a picture of the barcode, and then a number pops up and I can order my stuff, or I know where I am. But do we know the scanning device? It's not taking a picture. It's actually scanning and popping up the number. So if we think like humans, this would be more the way to go. I don't need a picture. I just focus on the barcode and it gives me a number. Again, it's rethinking how a user is using the app as a human being. So stop thinking as developers and start acting humans. That's probably one of the main themes, the human touch. Incorporate the human touch in your application. Okay, can somebody explain me what's wrong with this picture? So, no, wait. What should the application be doing? Again, you need to shout at me. Sorry? No, but the app should, it can help you find something, right? So, cool. Well, how can I find the app? That's a good question. Is it an iOS app? Is it an Android app? What is it? Based on the picture, I will probably say it's an iOS app. So I go to the App Store, and then how do I find the app? Do I know a name? I really don't know. Again, rethink your message, what the app should say, what the experience should say. It is cool that you have an app to find everything, but if the app can't be found, you're probably sending out the wrong message. I will take a sip. Adapt. Your application needs to adapt. And what I mean with that, every app is unique. It can still look the same, and things, it is very difficult to make an app unique within his own context. So in this case, most of the dashboard you see in a car do the same. They have a steering wheel, so you can drive, you can turn off the heat, you can turn on the heat. But if you adapt, let's say, to a brand, like you have an Audi or a Porsche or a BMW, you can still adapt your own brand, your own logo, your own identity, but still be true to different UI conventions. So think of your app as something unique. You want to still incorporate your uniqueness, but you have to be true to different UI conventions. But don't go overboard. Don't design an app that might run, an Android app that might run on an iPhone. This is just stupid. This is one of my iPhones. I did this. How cool is that? Ad. So ad is, I think, the most important part of maintaining or getting the awesomeness of your application. And it consists of three things. Add feedback, add value, and add aid or help. So looking into how can I add feedback. So this is the application for Google Fit. If I add interaction feedback, it gives the user a good confidence to know that he's doing the right job. If I click on an item, I can see I have clicked on an item. So the interaction between the application and the user gives the user confidence that he's using the app correctly. Especially with material design, they did a lot of focus on feedback, on animation. iOS already did that in the previous version, so I think Google finally saw that material design needs some feedback. Also, you can have dialogue feedback. What I mean is when you do something, you need some sort of attention, like, hey, well, you're doing something wrong. It is good, but it's freaking annoying because it's blocking my normal flow. Somehow I just want to know that I'm doing something wrong. But this just blocks the whole screen. But again, if you do this, you're probably going to the awesomeness. Also, error feedback. Most of you have seen this. You can't load data, check your connection, blah, blah, blah. This is called a snack bar, by the way. It's sort of a nifty toast. But again, if the user is doing something wrong, the app should be telling it. Because most of the users feel the urge to get some feedback if something went wrong, so he can take the appropriate action. They're simple rules, but again, you're helping the user, getting the user experience your app should have. Also, if you do, let's say, refresh a screen or do an action, try to make it visualize that the user knows he's having an option. I want to see if I do a refresh that something is happening. If I'm loading a screen, the screen can be loaded, but on the background the data is collected. Some sort of indicator would be nice. Again, it's all about feedback. And this is really easy. State if something isn't done yet. Like empty state. I'm going to do something, and the app is telling me, well, you don't have any data right now, but you can. So you trigger the user to actually do something. Again, don't wait until the user is doing anything. Give him the option. Give him the need to actually interact with your application. Well, okay, so you have an application, and how can we make it awesome? Well, we can add value. Value means do the additional step. Make the effort in adopting, like say, material design, or just add some cool widgets. Or maybe add the possibility to support Android Wear. But again, don't overdo it, please. You don't need to adopt to every new technology there is. So I have a newly born son, he's 8 months. I was really looking forward to buying this stuff. But I found out it's not working on Android Wear. So, but adopting and adding new value gives you that much level of satisfaction for your user. 8, it is really important to help the user. I'm not saying that most users are dumb. They're just ignorant. They don't know what your app can do or can't do. So if we go in a newly app, give the user some aid that he might do something cool with that. Give him some instructions. Don't just blatantly add a tutorial on all the possibilities the app is doing. No. If you are setting up an app for the first time, explaining, well, there might be a sliding menu or a drawer navigation if you press the hamburger button, or you don't have anything yet, you need to load something. But be careful, don't block the user experience. Just aid the user in the experience of your app. Also, I had a discussion with somebody that says, well, I want to add feedback, so I'm showing a dialogue when I delete an item, and it pops up and it says, well, are you sure, yes or no? This blocks the user experience. So what you can do is aid him in what he's doing. So it's fine that you delete something, but as long as you give him the option to undo stuff, because you accidentally swipe something away, it gives you that aid to a user to undo stupidness. And again, these are just small steps you can take, and what you see in Gmail and Inbox, it is very subtle, but it makes a huge difference. So, I was thinking while I made this presentation, it's the first time I'm giving this talk, how can I explain all the things about creating that awesomeness? Maybe I should do a case. So I was looking at a good application that is well known by Polish people, and I Googled around and I came across this app. Is the developer of this app currently here? Yes? No? Yeah? Raise your hands. Don't be scared. No? Good. No, it's a 4-star rating app in Google Play, so it has to be good. But I don't think it's that awesome. So how can we achieve that awesomeness? So I'm gonna do not live, but I did a redesign of the application to incorporate all the things I just told you. So the first screen of the app is, and I'm not really good in Polish, so you need to help if I interpret it correctly. So one mistake I already made, I don't know the domain, so I'll probably did something wrong. But hey, I like a challenge. So I think those are like some categories you can choose, like sports and TV and money. Am I correct? No? Oh shit! There goes my presentation. Well, let's assume I'm partially right, but those are actually categories I can choose. I think either they're categories or they're sources, but it's a choice a user needs to make to actually see some news. Then he comes to the second screen and there are some like Polska and I'm not even going to pronounce that. And then I see the news articles. Well, let's try to redesign stuff. First, I always start like the basics. I have some sort of navigation, and I'm putting down Polska News because that's the name. Well, cool. I did my first step, but let's more structure the app. So I probably need to do the hamburger thingy. I really dislike the hamburger thingy, and I can do some setup, and I have those categories that aren't categories, but probably a user needs to pick it. Well, I looked at the structure, and I didn't find out that I need to do 2 clicks to actually go where I need to go. So probably this is a better option. Can anybody see the difference? Yeah, I tossed that. But, cool. I already chose a selection for the user. And I still can achieve choosing a different category because there's a like spinner or drop down or whatever you call it. But I don't need that additional step. And the cool thing is that I can actually have a subset already. So without blocking the user, I'm already 2 steps ahead. So that was easy. Well, let's have a look at branding. Well, obviously everybody knows this is a Polish app because it's in Polish and there are some Polish persons. By the way, I did just use Google Translation, so if the Polish isn't bad, well, that's your problem, not mine. And I still don't know that it's actually, how do you pronounce that one? Interia? Sorry? Interia. So for me, I thought, well, maybe that's sort of a brandish way of, that's interesting. Is it a source or is it, oh, okay. So why don't I just do this? So now I know I'm looking in Interia. I really don't like this design, but it gives you a grasp that I did sort of do branding. So again, I just chose the logo to add to the experience. So if you're in the app, you know you're looking at news articles of that brand. And what else did I choose? As a smartphone, you don't need a lot of pictures, but you're interested in the story. For and I'm not mentioning a tablet because tablets in Android they don't exist. It's just a big Android support. But on a small device, I'm just looking for the story and I'm not looking at the big picture or the pictures. So making these small and just focusing on the story is a normal human behavior. Well, I'm getting there. So now what? So I need to adapt, as I told you. So I'm doing the material design stuff. So I'm choosing the colors correctly. I'm making this such a nice blue, and even the top bar is colored. And I show there's some, it's independent articles. So things are looking rather, for me it looks much better than the original one. Am I right? And if you say no, that's your problem. Well, did you see that, how awesome it was? It gives me feedback. So if I click on an article, I get feedback. So I'm sure I am picking that news item. Again, this is the feedback part. And then there is the detail. So now I see a bigger picture because I'm interested in that specific news item, and I'm scrolling and I don't want to see the picture anymore because I'm focusing on the article. So what if I do? I just swipe and the picture is slowly fading away. Again, if people read, that's a normal human behavior. He doesn't want to get blocked. So if I just make the picture stay as big as it does, it's not normal. So I'm adopting. I'm not blocking the user. It looks kind of cool, but I'm not done yet. I want to add value. So why don't I make a separate big screen app for a thing that is not called an Android tablet? But why don't I support different screen sizes? I have my small thing. I maybe want a big one, and it is interesting to show more pictures because you get triggered a lot, because a natural way is when people have a big screen in front of them, they want to relax and maybe get them to show them some videos, and it's more the normal way. Or maybe I can add value by adding some cool new stuff for a watch, where I just have the latest breaking news as a notification. Is it correct Polish, by the way? That one? Is that correct? What does it say? Yeah! Thank you, Google Translate. But just invest in that extra content will give the user a much better experience. We'll say, oh, cool, I have something that supports my watch. So, in conclusion, try to analyze your app and have a look how it's used today. Think of possibilities of if the app is sending out the right message, adapt to the latest standards, platforms, UI components, user experience patterns, and add value to it. Everybody's still quiet. Now, forget everything I have to say, just remember this. So know what you make, for whom and how. If you don't know what you make, you probably do a bad job, like I did with choosing the categories. Maybe I should have redesigned some other stuff. For whom, if you don't know the end user, you probably will fuck up. And on how. If you don't know the platform, your skills, the ins and outs of a platform, you will probably fail as well. And that's it. Yay, short presentation. Yay. And I have to say, before you start questioning me about the design, don't. If you do have questions, you have to shout a little bit, because I had the flu and my right ear is clogged. So I can only hear on this side. Right for you, left for me.
Okay, we've seen emerging the new trend in mobile design, yeah, to make an application more humane.
Yeah.
What would be the next step in that process?
If I knew that answer, I probably will be rich. I think for the Android point of view, they overdid the material design. There is a lot of animation, so I think it will tone down a bit. And yeah, that's it, I think. I don't know. I don't know how the user experience will be in like 5 years. Compared to the user experience and the UI we had like 5 years ago, we're so much further. And maybe, who knows, we probably will still be using our smartphone, but in 5 years maybe we have a sensor in it. You see a lot of wireless, like Minority Report shit, even though we had a discussion if it's, who likes the Minority Report gesture shit? Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah. Can you see yourself in home doing, oh wait, I have an email? No, I don't think so. But again, it's cool technology. So I don't know what the user experience or the UI will be in like 5 years.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Thank
okay.
God.
Any questions? No questions?
Come on. Oh yeah. Let him run. Let him run. Now you have to ask someone like, so he has to go down.
You have just completed 500 steps today.
I can see.
So, how would this work on older Android devices, especially the material design? From your experience, does the Android code adapt to older Android devices? How to get that working? Because that's the main worry, basically, when adopting these design practices.
So your question is, how can I adapt to older versions of Android? Is that correct? Okay. How will it look? Crappy, to be honest. So Google is supporting, by way of the support library, that older phones will look about the same. But the big question is, do you want to focus on supporting Android Donut or Android's, what is it before 4? Gingerbread. Stop doing that. Focus on, if you do the analysis and you know your app is only targeting for the high-end devices 4 and 4.0 and up, focus on that. Make your app at least 4.0 and up. We always get the same discussion. Oh, I want to support so much different versions. That's a downside of Android. By the way, iOS does it really cool. They adopt really fast. And for us as Android developers, it is a challenge, but draw a line somewhere and says, well, only support 4.0 and up.
Right.
And it doesn't answer your question, I know, but you have to draw a line somewhere. And if you do it for 4.0 and up, it looks awesome.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. We have a time for next question.
Oh, it's the guy from America. He has to stand up. He's a huge guy. Come up, stand up.
Thank you. Very nice job, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
noticed you're following the rules, the Android interface guidelines. You put together some concepts very quickly by following those rules. Are there techniques or tools that you use to put the designs together, and how long might that have taken you? What the example that you've shown?
Okay, so you're asking what are some tools and how long did it take to actually incorporate those design patterns into the case I just shown? So first read the documentation. You have to read the design guidelines, you know. Again, those are design guidelines, so it's not a Bible, it's not the Quran, so you can follow it, but you don't have to. The cool thing about it, they did some thinking and they chose these kind of patterns that are useful. There are some different ways. Either you can do like prototyping, so just use like a piece of paper and do some sketching, maybe together with your user, or if you're really good at tools like Sketch or Photoshop, use those. There are a lot of templates you can use. If you feel comfortable enough that your designs are good, you need to test them with your user or with somebody like your girlfriend or your boyfriend to know what you did. And the case I did, it took me, I think, 3 hours. But the first hour is just downloading the app and trying out the app and analyzing what the thing is doing. But again, I'm really good at Sketch. And Android is also a big fan of Sketch. The template for material design are made with Sketch. But if I just use a piece of paper, it would be fine. It probably will, it took me probably a little bit less. It doesn't look as good as it is. Does this answer your question? Okay.
Hello, here.
Hi.
So I'm kind of aware of what is happening now in the design world, because somehow designers always had a role of really creative people, of being really creative people. And I think like having this, for example, guidelines like material design, put the designers in a role where they stop being creative. They just have to follow design that somebody else did. And this is being repeated in many other places. So I want to know, what do you think about that matter, and how you see the designer of the future? Are we going to become like less creative? Are we gonna have like some freedom? Because, for example, if you wanna do a bit of craziness in the app, everybody thinks, oh, your app looks, it doesn't follow the patterns. It feels a bit weird. It doesn't follow. People criticize you because it doesn't follow material design. It's like, oh, fuck off material design. So I'm wondering what is gonna happen later. What is your opinion about that?
It's a good question. It is a good question. No, I don't believe the guidelines will stop challenging designers. Designers tend to do awesome stuff even without design, and again, it's without guidelines. As a designer, you always are looking for the edge of an application, the awesomeness of an application. And even though some of the design patterns within, like say, material design help you achieve that, you still need to think of your application. But it's the same as a developer. There are so many documentation on using the API. Does this mean that a developer is stupid? I don't think so. He has to think how to incorporate the best out of the documentation about the APIs, how to use an API. And again, I am a developer with a passion for design. I never had a day that I didn't need to think about what I code. And it's the same with design. Even though the guidelines are there, I still need to think of what I'm creating. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
And I need to thank you because I just found out the topic of my next talk, because I think this is a good one. We'll probably name it like, do I need to be dumb because they're guidelines?
Any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So again, can you show me your hand if you're a developer? Now keep your hands up. Now keep your hands up. Now lower your hands if you're not also doing design. It's a difficult question, right? No? So there are developers that do design. Now, okay, now show me the hands of the designers. Who also codes? Okay, so you may or may not seen this. Most developers do design, but designers never do coding. And that's a trend. And I had a discussion with Juhani. Is Juhani here? Yeah. It's really interesting to see the culture between the developer and the designer, because as a developer, we think that most of the designers are living in a bulb and they're making awesome stuff which you can't code. And designers think, well, we're the master, we design stuff, and apart from that, stop doing that. Talk to each other, interact with each other. We need each other. If you have an awesome design and a crappy working app, it will fail. If you have a crappy design and it works really well and it's smooth, again, you won't receive any ratings. So stop bickering and start talking with each other. Oh, there's still a question. Oh, it's a sensitive subject.
Well, I think it's related to the previous question and what you said. Don't you think what you just asked is maybe because all the design world works in such a way where basically the designer did an amazing job to provide tools, to provide frameworks for non-designers to create design, while we as a programmers, we didn't create the tools for designers to do programming.
No, but we're not dependent on tools. We're dependent on intuition, on feeling, it's not only zeros and ones.
Yeah, I know, but for example, you have a tool like Adobe Cooler, where you go there and then you say, oh, I want this color, create a palette for me. Isn't it?
Yeah?
You have color lover, or you go to the material design guidelines and it tells you, put your element here, here, and there, and apply that style.
Yeah, but how do you know if the elements you saying here and here are correct? What is the thought behind that? That's a process, and most design and code isn't actually just, again, like zeros and ones. It's not natural to put a button on the left, or even though I'm telling you, or a tool is supplying the possibility to put a button somewhere. There's thought in the process of actually creating an application, code-wise or design-wise. And those skills are, again, it's the human factor. And it's the same factor that the human is using your app. So I don't think, even though we have awesome tools and awesome possibilities which we can use, like Android Studio or Xcode, or we have like Sketch, it makes the work easier, but it's still work. We still need to think what we create. But it's the same as giving birth. It's so much easier to get a child, but actually the labor and all the stuff, even though they're safe in a hospital, it's still work. And it's the same with creating an app. Wait, do I compare sex to creating an app?
Yeah.
No, okay, that's
Yeah, you
that's
did.
weird, that's
You
weird.
did, yeah. Okay, I've got a question. We've seen a trend in enterprise software to blend and narrow the gap between developers and operations. You've mentioned that there is another trend to blend the developers with the designers. Isn't that making developers a little bit overpowered? That's a good one.
Well, that is a good one.
I was thinking for a long time for it.
I don't think so, no. And now I need an explanation why. No, I think it's still the human factor. I think it's related to the other question as well. No, we still need the human factor. We still need the developers, even though life is so much easier for us. I didn't have a situation where I saw an app and said, well, okay, that's easy. It's like 2 days and we're gone. Even the sketches I did, it took me a short while. I still need to think on how to create it. And if I would translate that in how to build it, even though I have some awesome tools, I still need to do the work.
Of course.
Okay.
Okay. Last question. I've seen the hand.
Yeah, who's
In
running?
the back.
Shall I run to him?
No,
her.
there's a person.
Pass the mic on the left.
As a designer, should I learn to code then, if you're advocating developers learning to design?
So you're asking, as a designer, do you learn to? No, but read. No, but talk.
But yes.
Talk to a developer and challenge him to, or have an open discussion on your designs, and ask his opinion on let's say a design or an action bar, or maybe do like sort of a short workshop with each other and challenge yourself, so you know the other party, you know the ins and outs of the daily hassle of a developer, and the other way around, as a developer, talk to a designer, see the challenges or the thought process that they have during the day. If you do that, if you talk to each other, you'll be a great company, and you're united as one against the customer. Ah, this is a good closing.
Yeah, exactly. That was well, amazing closure. Thank you very much, Wiebe, for your talk, and it was a great pleasure to hearing that.
Dziękuję.
Yeah.